And one thing as this is coming up as I'm describing this, the part that I actually, like, as the person that did it, appreciate more is like how much the soil changed during that. So it's like the things that other people could see, the trees, the shrubs, that was exciting. But when I got there, the ground was just clay. It was baking in the sun. It was holding water. It was not very productive or good for gardening. And so the effort I invested to improve the soil is actually, as I'm describing this, the thing that comes out as like what I'm most proud of, because to see how much that changed.
How involved was that process? I know soil is really the root of all life in a lot of ways. It's not just dirt. There's an enormous volume of microbial life in there. Something like 1 teaspoon of soil has more life, more beings in there than all the stars in the universe or something insane. It's just chock full of vibrant activity and microbial, life. It's really, if you think about it, all the action on this world isn't above the surface. It's really in the soil. We're these like giant monsters up here, just like lumbering around, but like beneath our feet is this like amazing world of crazy characters. Were you very active in restoring that soil, or was it a difficult process?
I think what you're describing is so critical, and it's something that before I started gardening, I just ignored. Like, I don't think people that aren't growing things really realize the amount that the soil is like this resource, this vitality for us. And if we lose it, which is happening with a lot of the modern ways of farming, crops, and just like growing things for production and not thinking about the soil, it's a huge problem. And it's something that I worry a lot about now. But in our own case, like we got there, I just could tell, digging in it, that it was really clay heavy, which is problematic, but also an opportunity, because if you leave it, things can dry out, it can hold water, things can die, but the clay has a lot of natural fertility. And so if you're able to break it up to add more stuff to it, the soil can become really good. And so that was my approach, was to just try to support what was there and to kind of loosen it. So I planted things like radishes that would really kind of burrow down into the soil, and then you cut them off and leave them, and they kind of rot and they leave their nutrients and they open up the soil. Or you plant these cover crops that bring in nitrogen and their roots start to go in there. So yeah, I think when I first looked at it, I was like, I'll just bring in a bunch of compost and I'll start to add these amendments that will fix it. And those are helpful, but they'll only take you so far, and they actually really seem to the impact dissipates very quickly. And so what I found was the most valuable was letting the plants do the work themselves. So finding things that you could plant in that soil that would go in and they would open it up for you. They'd add the fertility for you. And I think this is really mimicking nature most naturally. Like if you follow like ecosystems, they go through this process where there's these frontier species that when the soil isn't good, they come in and they kind of take on life, and then those plants die and they add to the soil, and then the next plant comes in. And so this is like the permaculture concept of succession. And it's just this process at which kind of a ecosystem can go from only being habitable for like a few plants to being like a vibrant food forest.
Wow. That's amazing. I love that concept of a frontier species and working with nature, and planting the radish and then lopping it off and leaving it there is all really incredible.